Guys, okay. So have you experienced any part of you that still wants to return to something familiar, even if it hurts? All right. And how do you navigate that?
What I've been doing, of course, is reading more, meditating on, you know, to be honest, meditating on God's word for one, and really just accepting the fact that uh, growth doesn't lie in comfortability,
Hmm.
and so it's just what it is, and you just have to accept that. It's almost just like you said, plants and flowers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they grow. Well, in order for us to grow, growth isn't supposed to be comfortable. And sometimes when we're going through that process of growth,
Yeah.
that's where the pain and the hurt is, and we always want to try to go back.
Yeah.
But then when we realize, this is really not really about me per se.
Yeah.
It's about who I need to become to be relevant,
Yeah.
not for a man, but for a purpose.
For a purpose. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
But if we have some awareness about the fact that we don't have to allow these attachments to take over our lives, we don't have to, because I don't know if this is just the way of this human experience that you come here and you're supposed to forget, or if in this era we have so much more awareness that we can actually circumvent and move the needle on that process so that maybe growth isn't so painful. Does that make sense? So maybe growth, because growth is painful because we're having so much to let go of. We're having so much to push through. We're pushing through the concrete.
And that's
We're pushing through the concrete. So growth is painful because of that. But it is only because we're having this conversation right now, which we wouldn't have had 100 years ago or whatever. Or maybe, I don't know. But the idea of maybe someone bamboozled me. Maybe there's somebody putting a veil over my eyes, and there's really more to this life. Because remember, all of us are status quo. We have been operating, moving, and navigating in status quo. But if there's this shift, and we can lessen the gap between the elderly and the young, and the time that it takes for us to choose our being, our soul's identity to navigate. Are you guys following me? If we can lessen that gap, then growth would be a little less painful, if that makes sense. You have a little less to but the question is that possible? Is it possible? Like, I mean, I don't think our ancestors were, I'm not going to speak on that because honestly I don't know, so I'm not even going to speak on that. But it's something to think about. It's something very interesting to think about, because the idea of growth, perhaps it shouldn't be as painful as it is. And it's just so much undoing that we have to experience right now.
yeah.
Well, who knows? Um,
There's power in acceptance.
what's that?
There's power in accepting that the stretch brings in growth. So if we could just like acknowledge that that is part of it, it would be so hard to,
Less pain as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like feel sorry for the person going
Right. Right.
It's something you taught me is like, it's not sorry for the journey they're going through. It's part of it. They'll go through it. They need it.
Yeah. 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 What if we look at life differently and we decide to reframe what it is to grow? In other words, because I always say that we like to be judge and jury about what people are going through, what they're feeling, what their suffering is. And just because we have been taught that this hurts and this is this way doesn't mean that's what it has to be someone else's experience, right? So it's a reframing and understanding of, like Drea said, maybe we become connected to the idea that except this is part of the process, and now I can experience it differently. I can experience it differently.